Today, I'd like to open up a bit more about my life, the ups, the downs, the hardships, and the little triumphs. Especially for the older men out there who might feel like they're walking through life on their own, I want to remind you that you're not alone. You've lived a full life, a life of work, dedication, family, and friends. But sometimes it seems the W world just keeps moving on without pausing to look back at those who helped build it. If I can give you even one thing to hold on to today, it's that you're far from being done, and you're far from unneeded. Today's world isn't what it used to be. It's tough for everyone, but maybe it's even tougher for those of us who have seen so much change over the years. We grew up in a time when things felt stable, dependable. You could count on your job, your community, and maybe even your health, and those things felt like they'd always be there. Back then, we put in hard work and saw it pay off. We knew that if we showed up day after day, did the right things, took care of our families, and respected our jobs, it would add up to something. But then things started shifting, slowly at first and then all at once. Jobs we counted on moved overseas. Companies focused on profit over people, and security that once felt so solid just seemed to disappear. Now, many older men, after working all their lives, raising families, and building communities, find themselves facing a future they didn't plan for. Some of you may feel alone, unsure, and wondering what's next. But I want to tell you this: you still have so much to give, to offer, and to live for, even if life looks different now. When I was young, life was rough. I had to leave school in the 10th grade. And like many young men of my time, I was on my own early. My mother and father weren't in the picture, and I had to figure things out without much guidance. I found a job at a gas station, earning just $1 an hour, and when I asked the owner for more hours, he gave me all he could. I ended up working 90 hours a week, and it was barely enough. I didn't have a home back then, so I slept in the back of an old car. I'd wash up in the station restroom, do my laundry in the sink, and sometimes, when the hunger was too much, I'd grab an apple or an orange from the grocery store just to get by. This was in the 1950s, and while the world was tough, it was different from today. People looked out for each other a bit more, and I'm convinced the grocery store owner knew what I was doing, but he let me be. Those experiences taught me resilience and reminded me that tough times don't last forever, even if they seem to stretch on. So for any man out there feeling like he's hit a wall, remember that you've already overcome so much, and you have it in you to keep moving forward. I didn't have much formal education back then, but when I joined the service at 17, I was determined to make something more of myself. I decided to learn to read and write on my own time. The first book one picked up was a 196-page Western. I struggled through it, looking up nearly every other word, and it took me 3 weeks to finish. But that experience taught me the power of persistence. Eventually, I was reading 2 or 3 books at once, keeping track of each one, and my mind became stronger for it. If you're feeling isolated, remember that you're still capable of growth. Pick up a book, dive into a new interest, learn a new skill, whatever you can find that brings you some light. Your mind is still sharp, it's still powerful. And there are still so many things left to learn and discover, even if it's just for your own enjoyment. Today, it's easier than ever to learn online or get books delivered right to your door. And even if technology feels intimidating, libraries are still there, still welcoming, still full of knowledge and community. For those of you who may have lost a spouse, a close friend, or even the daily routine that once grounded you, it's easy to feel like the best part of life is behind you. But you're not alone in that either. You've lived through changes and seen decades go by. That life experience is more valuable than you may ever know. Young people need the wisdom of people like us, even if they don't ask for it directly. There's a reason you're still here, and your story has more chapters left to fill. Once I left the service, I kept working hard and taking any chance I could to learn. I eventually took a few college courses, even though I didn't complete a degree. But I learned what I needed to move forward, and that has served me throughout my life. You don't need a diploma to make a difference. What you need is the will to keep learning, keep exploring, and keep living with purpose. Your life doesn't need to look like anyone else's to be valuable. Some of us, as we get older, start to feel like we don't have as much to give. But that's not true. Just because society values youth doesn't mean that's all that matters. We're still here, and as long as we're here, we still have value to offer. Maybe you've raised a family, worked a steady job, contributed to your community, or served others in ways that are too easy to forget. Those things add up, and they're worth remembering, even if no one else seems to notice. You have a lifetime of knowledge, experiences, and memories. Those are priceless, and they don't fade just because the world around us has changed. For those who have faced health challenges or lost friends along the way, I know it can feel overwhelming. You may feel like life has handed you more than your fair share of challenges, but you're still here. Even if it's tough, keep putting one foot in front of the other. Every step you take reminds you that you're still moving forward, still making progress, and still growing. I know some men feel like they've lost their purpose or their place in the world. If that's you, I encourage you to reach out, even if it's hard. Sometimes just talking to someone or finding a group of people with shared interests can make all the difference. Maybe you're not the type to open up easily, but remember, just being part of a conversation can bring some connection back into your life. You may even be surprised at how many people share similar feelings. If you're struggling with what's next, think of it this way: you have the chance now to explore things you might not have had time for when you were younger. Maybe it's woodworking, gardening, photography, or even volunteering. There are so many ways to stay engaged in the world, and each one of those things has value, no matter how big or small it may seem. Sometimes, life's later years are about finding joy in the simple things, and there's no shame in that. You don't need to be famous, wealthy, or even exceptionally talented to make an impact. Just being a good person, a kind friend, or a wise mentor is enough. Those small moments can add up to a life well lived, and sometimes they're the things that mean the most. So, to anyone who feels like they're on their own, I want you to remember this: you're not alone. There are people like me who understand what you're going through, and even if we're scattered across different towns and states, we're still here. We see your struggles, and we know your value. Don't let anyone make you feel like you're done contributing. The world still needs people like you, people with experience, kindness, and the strength that only comes from years of living. When life gets tough, find something to hold onto: a book, a walk, a conversation, or a hobby that brings you peace. Every moment you continue, you're proving your resilience. So keep going, keep learning, and keep living with the knowledge that your story still matters. You're still here for a reason, and every day you're alive is another day you can make a difference, even if it's just in one small way. And remember, you're not just part of the past. You're still part of the present, and you have every right to be here, to live fully, and to leave a legacy that shows who you are. So keep moving forward one day, one step, one moment at a time.